That's a start.
That is a start. That is a start. So we're gonna jump straight into this. I'm Alpha Toad. I was super excited to sit down with we call him Hawse in the Discord. He's a good buddy of mine. I've known him for a little over 5 years. Kind of seen him around at the skate park when we were younger. But we've rode a lot of dirt bikes together, and we've caused a lot of hell in our town together. And when I told him I started a podcast, I told him I'd like to have him on and kind of talk about what he's been up to. So, Haas, if you just want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, so my name's TJ Olson, from small town called Roosevelt, same as Rise or Cody here. 21 years old, and I like going outdoors. What can I say?
Nice.
Yes, he does. I'm also joined with 8Sins, who's my co-host here on the podcast. 8Sins.
I'm 8Sins. I grew up in the same town you do. You did, and you don't know me.
You dude.
You did.
Yeah, you have you dude.
You just as you did.
So we'll jump straight into this. Haas, you're aware a little bit. I've kind of told you about the podcast. This is a podcast about gaming, everything gaming, and kind of diving into that. But it's also about entertainment, and you're a pretty entertaining guy. I'm gonna have to say, you do a lot of cool stuff. You're very talented on a dirt bike. You're really fun to game with. You have a lot of games that I'm interested in playing. But judging by the background here on this podcast here, you've got a little bit of a special talent or a special interest. Do you want to kind of let us know what you're doing in Southern Utah?
Yeah, for sure. So I graduated high school and I became a hunting guide for a while. That was fun, but it kind of turned my passion into more of a job. So, like most people out here in the basin, I decided to go in the oil field, and I did that for, I don't know, little under a year, I guess. And I've always wanted to fly helicopters, so I found out about SUU aviation and I applied, and they accepted me for some reason. I'm not sure why,
That's a big
but now I'm
mistake.
down in, yeah, now I'm down in Southern Utah learning to be a professional helicopter pilot, and I'm about done. I already have my commercial license, and I'm working on my CFI right now.
That's pretty big. That's
Yeah.
coming from a small town like it is out here, rural basin area. That's pretty cool. I have to give you props.
I appreciate it. I mean, I never thought I could do it, but I'm doing the best I can now, and
You,
I've loved every second of it.
you could
Did you hear
fly
that?
off. You can fly off 200-foot lips, like 200-foot gaps on a dirt bike, and you said, "I don't know if I could ever do it." You're
Hey
just
man,
staying
when
up there.
it's
That's the
wheels
only
on the
difference.
ground,
Oh
wheels
my
on the
goodness.
ground's a little different thing.
It's super cool. It's super interesting. Before we get into the bread and butter of those devices that fly in the air that don't make any sense, that scare the hell out of me, we need to talk about video games. So the way I want to lead with that is, I know that you're an avid ARK player. I know that's what I just pulled you off of, was ARK. And
Oh yeah.
anytime ARK comes up in any of our conversations, you pride yourself in having over 5,000 hours in the game of ARK. So give a brief description of what ARK is for the people living under a rock that don't know, and give us just a little information on it.
Yeah, so ARK Survival evolved. I mean, it's in the name, it's a survival game. And what you do is you load into a server of your choosing, and it's 100 players per server. You join in, you start with absolutely nothing at all, and you can build your way up. You tame dinosaurs, raptors, rexes, gigas, anything you want, and build bases, and then you can go fight other tribes and hopefully take loot from them as well, and just try to build an empire within the game.
So what pointed you into this game? Like what drew you to this game? Like what was the
So mainly, I've always liked survival games. It's kind of always been my thing. Um, and I started playing ARK actually when it was in beta, and there's only one map. You couldn't really do a whole lot, but I still thought it was fun. And then after I got kind of more experienced in it, and I started getting my dinos and my tames and started raiding other tribes, I just became hooked because it's kind of, you can do whatever you want. There's no limits to what you can do in that game.
So
So
give me some input on this, but you said you like outdoors, and Ark Survival prides itself on the dinos and the wild interactions with the dinosaurs and whatnot. Is there kind of like a correlation there with the loving the outdoors and Ark Survival and the island and the other maps that they have being this just massive, you know, outdoor paradise if you think about it? Could you imagine if you got the opportunity, X out the dinosaurs, of course, because you don't want to run into like a stego, or not a stego, but a Spinosaurus or whatever it is, or T-Rex. Is your love for the outdoors kind of really play a key role in Ark Survival?
I mean, yeah, I'd say it definitely does because, like I said, I like the outdoors. I like exploring, and that's a big part of the game. You have to explore to defeat bosses, to upgrade your kit, and you really got to go around the map and find things. And yeah,
so what's the uh he kind of hit it on there about the outdoors and so what's the difference like between this and some other survival game? What's the main aspect that you enjoy most about this game?
so for me, I think it's most survival games are open world and you can do a lot of stuff in them, but in this game, there's so much stuff that you can do. I mean, I have, like he said, over 5,000 hours, and I've probably not even scratched the surface at most of the stuff you can do. I mean, I never even beat the game,
So
and I,
it's larger than most of these survival games, then you'd say.
yeah, I'd say it's a lot larger, a lot more content.
It
Yeah,
is.
so
It is quite the game.
it's insane.
Yeah, I mean, I've put some time into Ark as well. I played a lot when it first came out. I didn't catch. I'm trying to think of when I started. It was a little bit after I started Rocket League, so it would have been around 2016, 2017. Um, and I stuck to mainly primitive servers, right? They didn't have the tech and whatnot. But one thing that I remember vividly about my time playing Ark, and I probably have a couple hundred hours maybe in Ark, um, was the amount of dedication that some of these people would put in this game. I'm talking about with taming and breeding. If you're on official servers, some tames can take hours. And then when you're trying to imprint on a baby to get the best statted spawn of a baby, these people will wake up every 2 hours at night to imprint on these babies, and like people would take weeks off of work. There's just countless stories. So I want your feedback on that. I got to know, after 5,000 hours, tell me about it and
Yeah, for sure.
where you gravitated towards when that kind of stuff was going on.
Oh man, I mean, I started. I got lucky and joined a good tribe. We became good friends, and we ended up becoming a alpha tribe, which for people that don't know is like the king tribe, the biggest group on the server. We were an alpha,
Hmm.
shoot, probably across, I think it was 10 different servers. And my biggest thing was breeding for the most part. Yeah, I was one of those guys that would wake up every 2 hours to imprint on a brand new tame. Or I'd stay up for a whole day straight trying to get one of those baby gigas past its infant stage so it could actually survive. So breeding was my biggest thing because you could make dinos so much stronger than you could ever get them in the wild from just taming them.
So you've dedicated like hours of sleep and time to this. I mean, what is it? Just the passion of doing it? What is? I mean, what makes you want to do that at night?
Uh, Hopefully I can say this on the podcast, but mainly it was the dedication and the desire to have something strong enough to kill the next person I ran into.
You're canceled. You're done. You're
Yeah.
done.
That's a huge desire.
Yeah, you got quite the desires there. I mean, how'd you go from wanting to kill the next person next to you to flying helicopters?
Well,
Yeah.
this is like taking the Tamagotchi to the next level. You know, like that's when I was gaming or like got into gaming. Is you see this Tamagotchi thing in the egg, and then you grew it, and so this is like a huge level to it. So this is yeah, that's insane, dude.
Yeah, I don't think I want to know what kind of imprinting you were doing on your Tamagotchi.
I don't know.
That's not
I
podcast
don't want to
safe.
say.
So
Yeah.
the taming, right? Why are you taming them to be? You say that there's stats involved, right? So these
Mhm.
stats, they're not just completely random. You can actually selectively breed these dinosaurs to provide the best egg, right, for what you're trying to achieve, be it like rating or PvP or base in the air, whatnot.
Yeah. So yeah, when you tame a fresh set, they're gonna have certain stats, right? Whether it be a good health stat, good melee stat, good weight stat, whatever it is, you take those two pairs, you find the best ones, and then you pair them together, and you hope and pray that their offspring has what's called a mutation. And if it gets a mutation, it'll actually pop out as a higher level than what you could tame, and then it'll have an upgraded stat in health or melee or whatever you were going for. And after that, you have your new breeder. Hopefully, it's a male. Most time it's not, but then you take that and you find another one that has a really good melee stat. If that's what you're going for, and you breed those two together. And you hope for another melee mutation, and then now you have two breeders. You breed those two together, and it's a super long, complicated process that takes hours and hours and hours.
That is dedication, my friend.
If I could have that amount of dedication in my life, I probably would have two matching shoes. So I kind of looked into it. It says stat mutation. Now this is on ARK's wiki. So mutation mechanics: initial stat selection from parents, not technically part of mutations. Select a stat for mutation. Assign a parent as a source of potential mutation. Here comes the randomness. We love RNG. Random roll for
Hmm.
mutation is a 2.5% chance. Apply mutation and color change. Repeat 2 to 5 times, um, or 2 through 5 two more times.
Yep.
So yeah, it's in depth, and it's crazy where video games have went, like the direction. Like, the first podcast we kind of talked about your basic stuff like Mario, and we even talked about a little bit of Mill Sims like Squad and Ready or Not and whatnot. But the stuff that's running in the background of these games to provide this kind of gameplay is phenomenal, and I think that's kind of a great thing. We talked about games moving away from stories and whatnot, but there's such a open place for these type of games. I mean, it sounds like the possibilities are endless.
Well, this is what I hit on prior in the other video about what you can do to manipulate the game, like what how you can change the environment of the game, and this is a perfect example of
Oh yeah, for sure. So that step 4 you got there out says random roll 2.5 chance. That is a very real thing, because I remember me and my tribe, we'd spend shoot probably a whole day just trying to get enough eggs to hatch to hope for a mutation. And we'd start with like 50, and we'd hatch them all, and then maybe one would have the mutation we were looking for. Most of the time they didn't, so we were just like, well, get rid of them and then start it all over again.
Scramble that thing. Get yourself
Yep,
an omelet. You're
pretty
telling me that's the
much.
stats I get? You're going in the frying pan, buddy. So it's cool. I mean, there's a lot of cool mechanics in ARK. I mean, we have boss fights that you have your tech trees, you have your initial skill point trees, you have breeding, you have raiding, you have farming, you have all sorts of stuff with like the blueprints and whatnot. But there's one thing that's kind of is single person experience, right? The moments that you can capture in ARK, because of all this stuff that's kind of going on. ARK's huge. It's got a big map. It's got a lot of stuff going on, but the moments are so selective. Everyone has these unique moments, and in 5,000 hours, I know that you probably have too many to count. But give us a moment or something very memorable in your ARK. If you can think of one, hopefully it's not too crazy of a question. If you can't, we can move on. But if can you give us something like exciting or something that happened when you were playing ARK that made you go, wow, like look at this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. So back in the day, the max wild level you could get on a dino was 120, and they added to where they could now go up to 150. And within that hour, me and one of my tribe mates, we found a 150 Giga, which is one of the most strong or one of the strongest dinosaurs in the game. And we knocked it out. We started taming it, and they have a very short torpor timer, which means you have to keep them under narcotics constantly, or else they'll wake up. And what happened was we were chilling, just minding our own business, having a good time, and our rival tribe ended up rolling up on us with their pretty much entire squadron. And so we had to sit there and keep that tame knocked out while also trying to fight them off. And we had nothing but like pterodons at the time. We had nothing that we could actually fight them with. But somehow, I guess, with our just amount of hours in the game and our experience, we were able to fend them off long enough to get that tame standing so we could get it out of there. That's probably one of my favorite moments.
So, being a favorite moment, is that would you consider that like uh, one of the biggest accomplishments in this game? Like, or could, if not, elaborate on a biggest accomplishment that you've had in it.
Um, I wouldn't say it's my biggest accomplishment. It's probably my favorite moment in terms of immersion, but my biggest accomplishment would probably be when we decided to go up against our biggest rival. They were also an alpha tribe across 8 different servers, and we took the fight to them and completely wiped them off of all those servers. And that raid lasted for 72 hours. We were fighting them for 72 hours straight.
That's an accomplishment. Sounds like you accomplished being a colonizer.
That's chicken
Yeah.
dinner right there.
Yeah. So when you say of different servers, what do you mean? Can you elaborate on that? Like, you say that they're a alpha tribe across 8 different servers. What do you mean by that? Is there server hopping that can go on? Is there, that
Yeah,
kind of
so
things?
they introduced transferring is what they call it. So basically you have to go to an obelisk around the map, which it's just a big beam in the sky basically. It'll have a podium, so you walk in there with yourself and whatever you want to bring to a different server, and you upload yourself and all your tames, and then you join that other server and you go in and you have to get to the obelisk again, which the catch to that is most big tribes block those off, so you have to join that server preemptively and try to take out their fortifications along those obelisks. And then once you get there, you transfer all your stuff in to that server. Now you have a foothold and you can actually go cause some damage if that's what you're wanting to do.
Wow.
Sounds time consuming.
Very.
So, I mean, I never got that far in Dark. I mean, we played a lot of, like I said, primitive, and I just enjoyed, I just enjoyed playing on official um, island. It's one of the maps. It's the original map, and we kind of just did that. But Ark has evolved quite a bit. It's funny. Ark Survival evolved, but it has evolved. Now we have Ark Ascended, which is running on Unreal Engine 5. So you're not the only thing that's flying in your house. I guarantee your PC is, because I've seen you've been playing Ark Ascended, which is, like I said, Unreal Engine 5. You need a dang NASA supercomputer. But for people that are listening, or people that are interested into getting into Ark, what would the first, let's say, 5 hours for a first time player in Ark, any tips to them, or what could they expect getting into Ark in 2023?
Yeah, your first couple hours in the game, make sure you get that stamina stat boosted because everything is going to try to kill you and you got to run a lot. Other than that, try to get you some gear. Spears are a godsend. You want to build as many of those as possible, start killing dodos. And parasaurs, get some hide and get a small little outpost set up and then move on from there. I would try to build in a not an easy zone because the easy zones don't have any resources that are actually useful. So I'd go to a medium zone at the least. You could get away with going to a hard zone, but like I said, that stamina stat needs to be boosted because you're going to be running a lot. So I think that's the best way to get started.
So with the new iteration of the newest ARK, what kind of upgrades or anything that you had to do to your computer to get it to actually function?
You know, I haven't had to do any upgrades, but it sounds like it's about to take off every time I launch the game. It doesn't like it.
It's spooling
So
up.
I'm looking, yeah, I'm looking to get some upgrades. I was looking at Task Manager today when I loaded and I was using 98% of my CPU,
Oh,
which is insane.
yeah.
So I'm wanting to upgrade, but I haven't yet, and I probably should
But
soon.
you've been able to play fairly decently without too big of a problem.
Yeah, I've been able to play
It's
just fine.
it's
I
never
uh
terrible.
I had to turn down my graphics a little bit, like my shadow details and my terrain details. I had to turn down a little bit and to achieve a decent amount of FPS, but I've still been able to play pretty good.
Hmm. I'm looking up the minimum requirements for ARK Survival Ascended right here, and it says minimum. Take this for what it's worth. So they recommend a Ryzen 5 2600 or Intel's equivalent, the i7 6800K, 16 gigabytes of RAM. The video card is a RX 5600 or GeForce 1080. I believe you're running a 2060, correct? 16
Yeah,
gigabytes of 2060.
yep, I got a 2060.
Right. So it plays it. I'm sure your computer struggles with Minecraft, but we can get Ark Ascended in there, which
Yeah,
is
for sure.
perfect. So we talked about Ark. We've spent a lot of time playing DayZ. I mean, we could dive into DayZ as well. But what I really want to get into, and it's the bread and butter, like I said, the thing that's got me most excited is helicopters and helicopter physics in video games. You play Squad, which is a military simulator that's around. It's a massive game. They have helicopters in it, and then you also play War Thunder, which has helicopters in it as well. You fly helicopters in real life. You get to sit in the cockpit. You get to feel the actual um, feedback and whatnot to your what would you call it in a helicopter? I'm sorry.
What do you mean
Your
exactly? Like
is it your
feedback?
cyclic? Is it your cyclic that you hold on to actually like move the helicopter?
Yeah, so I could put it in simple terms for you and everybody else. So you have a collective, which is your up and downy stick. You raise it, you go up, you press it down, you go down. Your cyclic is the one in the center, and it's the all aroundy. Wherever you put it is where it's going to go. And then you have your spinnies, which are your pedals. So if I press right pedal, I start spinning to the right, and left, I'd spin to the left, of course.
Okay. So you get the feedback. You feel the helicopter. You feel the machine in real world. Which
Yeah.
game do you think replicates helicopter flight? Obviously without the feedback, but which one replicates the helicopter flight that you've experienced the best?
So I would, without the feedback, I would say Squad probably is the best in my opinion because it's not a lot of games like you let go of the controls and you just pull right into a hover, perfectly stable, you're fine. Squad doesn't do that. You kind of have to finesse it a little bit just like you would in real life. Like you got to constantly be messing with your power and your pitch and your blade angles and all that and try to keep this machine in perfect balance at all times because when you let go in Squad, you just crash, which is how you would in real life.
So do you have other accessories or peripherals that you play with the game or anything, or you just do mouse and keyboard?
No, I'd like to get a simulator set up, but right now I'm just on mouse and keyboard.
He's on that college budget
Yeah,
Yep.
right.
because they can get expensive. I guess what is it, Virpil, right?
Yeah, Virpil's the best because they actually make like real life models. So if you were to order the UH1H cyclic from them, it's actually what is in the real UH1H.
Gotcha. So, with flight controls and stuff, you say squad, but what about as you look at my screen here, your
You're
instrumentation?
not streaming.
Perfect. There you are. So go ahead and join
Sweet.
that. And I forgot I had to close my opera. Um, you see the instrumentations down here in the cockpit of this bird that they're flying. Tell me about the
Yep.
instrumentations in real life, and can you compare them to the video games?
Yeah, so I mean, it all depends. Some birds are set up different than others. I'm fortunate to have a full Garmin system in mine, which looks an awfully lot like that on screen, where you have your collective torque. We call it torque. They just call it a percentage on squad. You have your RPM readouts, your manifold pressures, your compass, everything like that, and that'll be on your PFD, also known as a programmable flight display. And then over to the left, you have the map on the game, and that's a real thing that we have. It's on our MFD, which are our multi-function displays. So I can see terrain. I can actually see colors if I set it up to where it shows me terrain, and when I'm in range, it'll be red if I'm within 100 feet and green if I'm within 500 feet. So it really helps if you can't see much, but it looks a lot, it looks the same in our birds, but there's going to be some birds that just have the old analog gauges where you don't have any of this fancy computer stuff.
Okay.
So you'd say it's fairly accurate for
Yeah, for sure.
for what it is.
I think
And
it's pretty close.
Yeah.
and you think Squad kind of does that best? I know that there's Microsoft flight simulators and stuff out there, but we're kind of going more towards video games. I know, like you could say, like Microsoft Flight Simulator is a video game, but we're looking at like combat and what makes a game, in my opinion. Yeah, flight simulators are cool, but this is a combat simulator that seems to kind of nail this aspect of it, almost flight sim in a way.
Yeah, and I make that same argument. It's like, yeah, Microsoft Flight Sim is cool and it's gonna be probably the most realistic out of most games that you'll find. But in Squad, you're actually in an environment where you have missions and have to do stuff, not just fly around in a pattern.
Right.
So is this your favorite thing to do in a game like Squad? Is to go after the helicopter, go get it, and start flying, or is that a thing where it's like I'm in a video game, I just want to play as something else. I don't want to do my job while I'm playing video games.
So, I mean, it really depends. If I'm solo, then I mean, you bet I'm getting in the heli,
Yeah.
100%. But if I'm with friends, you can only really have one pilot, so I'll normally just join a squad up with them and go on the ground. But solo, I'm always hopping in the bird, no matter what game I'm on.
Running those air logi runs, huh?
Yeah.
So we talked about Squad. You said that you favorite on the flights and things like that over War Thunder. War Thunder's probably a little more arcadey, but that's a game where you can be with your buddies and just you can jump in a helicopter because they could be in a tank or they can be in some kind of fixed wing aircraft like a jet or a plane or whatnot. So it's kind of like a breath of fresh air for you because you're going to get in your helicopter if you can grind hard enough to get you a helicopter in that game. But
Yeah, it's a process.
so
Uh,
let's take a look at let's get into your SUU. So you go to Southern Utah University,
Yep,
which
that's
is
correct.
renowned for having one of the best flight programs in the United States. It's high. Um, you've been there for a little over almost 2 years, right?
Yeah, it'll be 2 years in January.
2 years in January. Um, Shout those guys out. I know that you've made a lot of good friends. You've made friends with your instructors. It sounds like you're having a great time down there. I see a lot of your videos that you send me. Tell me what it's like being there and how it's been and the experiences that you've gained that you couldn't put a dollar sign on because I know the school's expensive.
Yeah, so I definitely gotta credit most of it to two people, Blake Bennett and Mike Maurer. Blake was my very first instructor I ever had, and it wasn't just a student instructor relationship. We kind of became pretty good buddies. And with that, we got to do a lot of the funner stuff that most students don't get to do. So that was really cool. But it's the school's great because you fly around the mountains all day long. It's not flat terrain at sea level. You're up at 5,000 feet. You're very power limited and you're also in the mountains. So it teaches you to fly in those power limited environments, but also you can't pull power if you're in a situation. So you got to learn how to find outs and constantly be looking for that out just in case something does happen. So I would say it's probably the best school there is for that.
So, do you have any tips for future aviators that want to go into that and into this program?
Yeah. Tip number one, be prepared to study. It's a lot more work than most people think because you could teach anybody to fly, but the ground knowledge you act you have to study. And there's a lot of stuff. I have a binder. It's about 500 pages long. I built it for CFI because I have to have lesson plans. And I started realizing as I was putting it together, like you really have to know a lot. So for every hour you fly, be prepared to study about 4 hours on the ground. And that's on the low end. I would study a lot more if you could. Also, don't look at the cost to get into it as a bad thing. That's why was one of the biggest turnoffs for me, why it took me so long to actually do it, is it's expensive, but the turnaround is tenfold what you're going to spend getting your ratings. So if you want to do it and you really love aviation like I did growing up, just go for it.
You got to go all in. So there's a big price tag. You talk a lot about studying. You can't help but think about safety, right? And the stuff that you're doing. I mean, I know that these machines are designed for this. I know that the people behind, or inside the helicopter, they're highly trained. They probably take safety as number one priority. That's probably why you do a lot of ground school, and whatnot. So touch a little bit on the safetiness of the helicopters. Obviously, in games we get reset buttons, but out there in the air you do not. And also touch a little bit on the very first time that you took flight at this school. Were you feeling nervous? Were you obviously there had to been some excitement, but if you just want to touch on those two things, kind of give us an insight on that.
Yeah, so safety's paramount. That's what they grill into you day one before you're even able to hop in an aircraft. You have to go through what's called SFAR 73 training, and it's just an advanced safety training for Robinson helicopters. So you have the hierarchy of needs. I can't remember exactly how they go, but basically you need, your food, water, stuff like that. But somewhere along that list is you have to feel safe and you have to feel secure. If you don't, you're not going to learn. And so, like I said, they teach you safety day one and they start trying to pound it into your head. Your first flight, I mean, I can't lie, I was super nervous. I didn't know what was going on. And my instructor just said, "Hey, it's fine. If anything happens, I got us. I'll take controls." So that really helped me a lot to be more comfortable in the aircraft, as well as when I started doing something dumb, he would wait for a minute to take controls and let me try to fix it and recognize what was going on before he would take controls. And if I didn't correct it, he would take them. Then we'd walk through what would happen and what was going to happen and what we need to do in the future to not get into those situations.
Okay. And that feeling the first time you stepped into the helicopter there, I don't know if you have experience inside helicopters before the school, but let's focus on the school side of it. The first time you took flight with an instructor or out there on that runway, what were you feeling? Were you excited? Were you nervous?
Yeah, I had a combination of all of them. Really, I was super excited, super nervous. Didn't want to completely mess it up day one. And those nerves probably they didn't go away. The nervousness at least didn't go away till about I'd say hour 30. So I didn't know what I was doing. And we took off one day and we landed at a little airport called Beaver Municipal. And my instructor looked at me and said, "Well, how do you feel?" And I didn't really think much of it. I said, "Oh, I feel good." And he's like, "All right, well, pick me up in 30 minutes." And he just hopped out. And first time I flew solo, that was insane. There's, I haven't felt an accomplishment bigger than my first ever solo flight.
That's cool. That's awesome. That's
The bee's knees.
yeah.
Yeah,
I told you I was going to fit that somewhere in the podcast.
Yeah.
So, we're on the SUU's YouTube channel. You've
Yep.
got to be familiar with it. If you're not, what are you doing down there? Let's
Yeah, I've watched a lot.
let's find a video. I've watched a couple. I'm guilty. Okay, you got me.
Yeah.
So, is there a video in particular that you'd like us to show with some sound on it, to kind of give SUU some credit and kind of show what your day-to-day life is out there, and kind of get people hyped on this kind of thing? Because, like I said, this is a gaming podcast, but you can't skip over something like this. This is super cool, in my opinion. We all like to fly the helicopters in the video games, but to actually do it. So shout out a video. Let's watch that video. Hopefully I don't get demonetized for watching SUU's video. Shout out to SUU. We got one of your guys. He's an instructor there with you guys. So relax.
I'd say the SEU Aviation Highlights video 2023 is a pretty good one that shows what we do and what the school is all about.
And from my understanding, you're actually in this video. You're actually flying a few things in this video, right?
I believe so. I don't remember if I'm in it or not.
Right, because you're not the one down on the ground filming, right? Okay, so let me turn this
Yep.
up a little bit. We'll keep quiet and we'll take a look at this. Hopefully this is good. How cool is that? If that doesn't get you pumped to go play a video game of flying helicopters because it's a lot safer now, I don't know what else would.
Well, on speaking of that, like, was there something that influenced you into that career path? Was there a video game that kind of sparked your interest or anything like that, or was this just a personal path?
Um, I mean, I always wanted to fly a helicopter since I was a little kid, but I think a game that really instilled it for me was probably Battlefield 3.
Battlefield.
I was a menace in that helicopter on that game. So,
Yeah,
That'll
that's
do
awesome.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
you got to have some kind of inspiration and
Yeah. Well, I
a
believe
direction.
yeah, I believe that there's some sense of, video games that kind of spark a direction in certain people. So,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I mean, the technology is only improving. I know that we have in the past talked about flight simulators and kind of the real world application for some of these instructor schools and these flight schools and stuff like that. Even in the military, where they're able to, so what I understand, they're able to give people, you know, like the application of flying these machines in real life on the ground in the safety of a simulator. I'm talking really high end simulators. I'm not talking, these low end ones and whatnot, but I'm talking high
yeah.
end ones,
All right.
Oh yeah,
which I think is absolutely phenomenal.
yeah. They got those. I think they call them like 4D simulators where you can experience the roll, the shakes, the pitches, and everything in a sim, which is insane.
Yeah, and kind of video games and those kind of devices and things like that kind of laid the roadmap, I believe, for that kind of stuff. So it's kind of cool to see that video games can be applicable in that direction that way with these real world applications.
Yeah, I'd
So,
agree.
um, what future game or like game that are you looking most forward to? We know you're playing uh the one now. You got quite a bit of hours in it. What is the one that you're looking forward to the most?
Oh man, it's a hard question. There's a lot of them. I was really looking forward to the new Battlefield, but it ended up being a flop.
Right.
ARK 2 for sure is gonna be one that I download, but I'm not really sure. Maybe if they come out with another squad type game or something like that, then that'd be something I'm interested in. But I haven't really looked at what's coming out.
GTA 6 is around the corner,
It,
hopefully 2024.
Yeah, that's what they say.
We shall see. We'll have to make a video on that one for sure. I'm excited for the or the trailer release that's coming next month. Um,
yeah.
Oh,
but that's a great question. And another thing is um, with the direction of video games and these drops, you say that you're not really like paying too much attention. I think there's a contribution there of your balancing of time, right? So a big thing that's going on right now is like people are spending way more time on technology and video games. I spend a lot of time playing video games, and I work, play video games, spend time with the family. You're going to school, learning an amazing trade, or if you want to call it a trade. Um, you're probably balancing, socializing with people down there, college parties, of course. I bet you guys party hard down there, those pilots. Where's
yeah, we have
that
fun.
balance for you? Where's that balance?
Man, it's whenever I can find time. Most of my day, well, my routine is I wake up at 5 a.m. every day and I make my breakfast. I go to the gym, and then from there it's about 8 o'clock ish, and I'll go to the hangar and hang out there. Maybe if I go fly, or I also work in the hangar, so I'm there most of the day anyways. After that, I go to the gym again because I gotta stay in shape. That's one of the main things about being a heli pilot is there's weight requirements. So that's a big part of my day is going to the gym, making sure I stay fit. And then from there is study time till typically around 8 at night. And then if I have time and I'm not just a ball of stress because I have a check ride or a test coming up. I'll hop on and play a few games.
So
Pretty good balance.
that's a great balance. And that's something that should be stressed upon, and take it from you who still plays games. We still play games together. I would say at least 3 times a week. I mean, sometimes you're on later than I am because obviously you're busy doing your thing, and I'm trying to go to bed around 9 or 10 when you're getting on. Um, but I think it's important to stress that for these young people that are coming up that may be spending a lot of time playing video games. I don't think there's anything wrong with playing video games, but um, any words of advice for people that may be spending too much time on the video game at a young age when they should be chasing college or chasing some kind of dream and not balancing it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the game's not everything, you know? Like, you need to go outside and touch grass. At the end of the day, you got to make connections with people. The world is a forever evolving place, and if you don't know people and you don't make connections early, you're going to really struggle as you get older. So my best advice is pick a couple hours, typically at night when there's not much going on, and choose to play your games then. During the day, I would go outside, focus on a trade, figure out what makes you happy, find your passion, and chase it like your life depends on it because at the end of the day, it does. So that would be my advice.
Great advice.
Yeah, I should take notes.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm kind of in a dead not a dead end job, but I have a family to raise. I'm getting into this passion of podcast. But I didn't play games a whole lot, going through school and whatnot. I made a lot of other bad decisions, but um, someday you're going to be rolling into some pretty decent heli cash. And you're going to have a lot more free time. Obviously, you're going to use that free time to probably stay in shape and stay doing what you're doing. But isn't the reward there that once I don't think you ever make it, right? You're always evolving. But once you're more established and you have this more free time, the hard work that you put into allows for that better gaming experience.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, once I'm done with school and I'm actually out in the industry and I don't have to worry about check rides and tests, then I'll probably hop on games quite a bit more. But that also goes back to, you got to get outside and make connections. Like when GTA 6 comes out, I don't think I'm going to play it so much that I damn near think I'm the person in the screen. You know what I mean?
Right. I will.
Well, I, kind of focused on my career at a young age too, and did that kind of stuff. And then as you age, you kind of get a chance to kind of settle down and get back into it. So hopefully, you know, that's not missed. But
Yeah, I'm
Right.
looking forward to that portion.
Yeah, if it ever comes. I mean, it was about as good as I was thinking, when I told you, hey, I want you to come on the podcast. You make such good points, and your the decisions that you make in life and the way that you're able to express them to us here on the podcast. I mean, I feel like I know you pretty good, and talking to you um here on the podcast kind of gave me even more insight in you. Like I said, I've known you for a while, and when you were out here, we spent a lot of time together riding dirt bikes and just hanging out. I mean, you even worked for Strata for a while. I'm gonna have to cut that.
yeah,
But you worked where I worked for a while. Um, and I feel like I actually learned a few things about you and the way that you put things together. I can see your passion in ARK and video games and in making connections and furthering your education at SUU's aviation program. It's been great. I'm glad that you came on. I honestly could. I definitely want to follow up podcast with you if we continue doing this path. I think we need to have you on again. Obviously, you're more than welcome anytime. Um, Asins, anything you want to elaborate on that?
no, I appreciate you coming on, and it's a pleasure to have you on here. It's a very good insight, very cool. I give you major props for sticking with it and keep on keeping on, man.
I appreciate it. Will do. Thanks for having me on. It's been a good time.
Yeah, absolutely, no problem. If you guys enjoyed, you can tell I'm getting tired. Listen to me. If you guys enjoyed this podcast, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Hit the bell notification.
Hit
We're
the
going to
bell.
continue doing this. Yeah, hit the bell or get out. Um, Anything you want to shout out? Any social medias or anything like that that you want to put on there, Haas?
Yeah, definitely follow SEU co-pilots. We do a lot of fun stuff on there. Follow. Do you guys have a Instagram or anything? Yeah.
Don't call me out like that. Don't you call me out like that. We do not currently. We only have the YouTube. I am working on a Twitter and then some other social media accounts. But if you want to put your at handle to anything that you'd like people to come and join you in on, go ahead and drop them. I'll make sure to put them in the subscription
We'll put
or
in
the
the link
subscription
below.
and the description. Yeah, listen to me.
No, I think that's about it. That's all I got.
Okay.
Awesome.
All
I'm
right.
8 Sins.
I'm Alpha Toad.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, we'll see you guys on the next one.
Thanks for having me.